This is the Smoked Debrief. Light up, lock in, and let's get to it.
Hey, this is Jim, Hollywood, the Smoked Debrief.
Last week we smoked the Brick House Double Connecticut from J.C. Newman, and so we're going to just give our little review of that just before we get started on today's show. Jim?
Sir, I would say the Brick House rated, I would say an 8 puff rating for me.
Because?
It was a good cigar, but I think it was maybe a little too mild for the company.
This is Jim letting his personal cigar taste interfere with a proper rating of a cigar. Now, for me also, it wasn't quite something I'd smoke every day. I would have probably, if I was going based solely on my personal preference, I would say it was probably a 7 or 8 because of its mildness. But if I'm a mild cigar smoker, it's hands down a 10 puffs. So you have to take everything Jim says with a grain of salt. He'll eventually get on the program and figure out how this works. But all in all, it's a great smoke.
So we're supposed to just pretty much, the beginning episodes, we rate everything a 10. So we get advertisers. And then once we have the money rate 10, then we start nailing them.
My integrity for cigar rating cannot be sold. I cannot be lobbied.
Mine can. Okay. All right, what have you brought for us today?
I've brought a cigar that's near and dear to our hearts. As Jim and I are both vets. About 8 years ago, I met a couple of guys, Scott Jansen and John. I knew, say you get old, you can't remember his last name. What's his last name?
I don't know.
Scott and John from Warfighter Tobacco. Now, when Warfighter Tobacco first came out, they were sending tons of their cigars overseas. I met them on the set of Range 15, and they came up to me and they're like, "We want to start a cigar company." And I'm like, "Oh, great, I smoke cigars. I'm thinking this is awesome." So they'll be the first to tell you that their first cigars, their manufacturer was pretty shitty. But they stuck after it. They had a very loyal following. You know, the fact that they were warfighter cigars, the tons were getting sent overseas to the war. They had a very loyal base. So they were smoking them even though they were crappy. And then the guys, after a couple of years, they really started figuring out what they were doing. They got a new manufacturer. They went to a new manufacturing plant, and their cigars made an exponential jump to much, much better. And then they moved again, I guess about 3 years ago. Now their cigars, I rate those cigars with any cigars I've smoked.
I've never had this. I've had the 556.
They come in, this is their little handy dandy 6-pack. And if you look on the back, they have Field cigars, these 3, and then they have Garrison cigars, these 3. I believe that's about to change. I believe they're about to go to a new band, but they have a Connecticut, they have a Sumatra, which is what we're going to smoke today. They have a Maduro, they have a Corojo, a Rosado, and an Oscuro Maduro. And I've smoked every one of those cigars. They're all amazing, and they're all a cigar that I would smoke every day. I mean, it is my everyday smoke. I'm glad Jim's going to try one of theirs that he hadn't smoked yet. How'd you find out about Warfighter, Jim?
You.
Is that true?
No, it was actually Matt. Matt Finney and I were at the...
How did Matt Finney find out about him?
Probably through you.
That's right.
He just came back from Texas. I think y'all were filming something. We went... I just got tobacco all in my mouth. He came by the gun range, and we were riding around the back 40 at the gun range in the Humvee, and he whips these bad boys out, a little 5.56, and we were smoking away and running through the jungle at the range, and had a really good time. It was just fun sitting back there in the woods, smoking cigar, and
That's one of the most boring cigar stories, Jim, I've ever heard. And we're definitely going to have to work on a cigar story presentation.
What the hell?
You know, you have to, beef it up. You know, we were there reminiscing about my days in the Army, and Matt said, "Here,
I was in the Humvee.
Try this.
We were driving the fucking Humvee.
here, try this." And when you smoked it, it brought you back to those days, in basic. And, that's how you tell a story, Jim, not just, well, we were out at the range, and Matt gave me a cigar, and it was good. Simmons! John Simmons!
That's his
last name.
Sorry. Oh, yes. So, now that you remember his name, John Simmons, thank you so much for coming out with some nice stogies. I like the label. I wouldn't change that. I really like the label.
But it's a great cigar. We're going to light it up.
Let's do it.
And they're very fortunate. Their loyalty fan base stuck with them in the early days, allowed them to really figure out what they were doing and get things going. And they continually strove to improve their cigars, and they didn't rest on their laurels. Making a great cigar was really important to them.
I'm totally trashing this one, trying to light it.
That is full of tasty deliciousness. It's awesome when that first couple of puffs, when it just says, this is going to be a great smoke.
It reminds me.
You're going to do it, aren't you? You're going to tell a story now. You're going to. I love you, bro.
If you would let me. If you don't approve of the way I like my cigars, get your own show.
Exactly. And if you don't like the way we cut them, the way we rate them, the way we do anything here, get your own show.
Nobody gives a shit.
I know you're scribbling right now out there. Someone's going, oh, he kind of burned more than just the tip of the cigar when he was lighting that. Oh, he just did one V cut. You should always do a double V cut so you get an X, or why isn't he using a punch, Fuck you, all of you.
But as I was saying, it does remind me of a time, I think it was 1987, Reforger, 87, and we were on border patrol. And we got into this little town, and we were invited in by this German family, and they fed us and everything. We had some little stogies afterwards.
Really?
Yeah. Got into a snowball fight with the little neighborhood kids. The closer you got to the border,
to East Germany,
yeah, the friendlier they were. This was when the wall was up, of course. Yeah. The friendlier the people were, and it just, we go in there and they feed us. Didn't know us, we were just some army guys in a Jeep, and they invited us in and fed us. And he had, I'm not exactly sure what it was, because at that time I didn't pay any attention to it. And I was really smoking it just to be polite, because I didn't want to refuse it.
You weren't really a cigar smoker then?
I was not a cigar smoker then.
Most people don't even know about the Cold War.
Not anymore.
The last, people like to say that the longest war we've been in was the Afghanistan War. The war on global terror, but that's really not true. The Cold War lasted from 1947 to 1991.
It was a long time.
And every morning the Soviet premier would wake up and he'd say, do we attack America today? And his guys would say, sir, fucking Jim is over there in Germany, and fucking Hollywood's over there in a B-1, and they'll kick our ass if we attack them, so let's not attack them today.
That is exactly what happened.
Now,
and as soon as you came home, you came home in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
I came home in 88. So I know they started immediately planning the shutdown June of 88. They were like, oh shit, he's going to go rogue.
That's right. And this is a great cigar.
This is nice. It really is.
When you go to a cigar shop, how do you pick out a cigar if you're going to pick out something new? Label, review, rating.
The last time that I went, and I go to JR's or I'll go to Havana Fields in Greensboro, but usually when I'm up at Havana Fields, it's with a purpose because I know they have a particular cigar that I'm looking for, so I'll go get it. But lately, I've been just looking at cigars that are being rated on X, and they spark my curiosity. So I'll go to JR's and browse around just because they're close. So it's on the way home, so I can stop by and go in there. It's a bit overwhelming because they've got a huge selection. The Dragon, I don't guess you smoked your Dragon yet, have you?
Well, no. I mean, that's like a special cigar. Like when I lose my virginity, I'll probably smoke that.
But what if it sucks?
Well, then it'll be a horrible reminder of a horrible event.
Well, I smoked one.
And did it suck?
It did not.
Wasn't, but it wasn't as grand as you thought it was going to be.
It did not suck, but it did not hit the level of the packaging. It definitely did not hit the level of the packaging. But, maybe I'm just not a connoisseur enough of cigars, of good cigars to know.
Or maybe you're not affected enough that, the mere packaging and the hype is able to propel you into that mental state of utopia. So the cigar is able to connect with your brain and give you that experience.
I'm a sucker for packaging.
Guess what? So I don't know why I became such an Opus whore. I don't know how it happened. Other than the fact that I was living in Vegas, and I went to Casa Fuente there.
Bad Opus.
And they have the Casa Fuente brands there, and
the cigar lounges in Vegas.
And every Opus I've ever smoked has been great. Now, I'm not paying 50, 60, 70 bucks for them like, a lot of places try to charge. If they're not 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, like they're supposed to be, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to smoke a $20 cigar every day either.
Yeah.
But, my lady's in the military, I was in the military, so we have a lot of connections of people coming back through Dubai.
Oh.
And, Fuente had that Dubai Exclusivo box that it was only sold at the Dubai duty free.
That's available in Fort Bragg or Fayetteville, isn't it?
That's what?
It's available at Fayetteville?
It's available in a little pack. They're not selling the boxes. But we had someone coming back last year, and he brought us 3 boxes of those, and then 3 boxes of the green ones, the green Fuentes. I paid $900 a piece for the boxes, and they sold for between $1,500 and $1,800 a box.
That's crazy. But they're good smokes.
But it is crazy, isn't it?
That is crazy. It's tobacco.
It's tobacco, right?
It comes up out of the ground.
But
it's
the box of 20, $900, I was like $50 a piece, So I was able to justify that by knowing I could sell the other ones, and recoup my money. If I hadn't, I'd have been dead because my girlfriend would have just killed me probably. But there's it's hard to get those Fuentes. It's hard to get Opus X's, and buy more than one, like you're saying. But I discovered a cigar shop in the Midwest because I travel all the time for filming and everything. And I happened to go in there, and they had a box of the pinks, the Opus pinks. And I said,
I had no idea what you're talking about.
"Oh, I gave you one last week."
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
Well, I'll give you one. I'll give you one next week. We'll smoke one next week.
I gave you an Opus.
It comes out in October. It's in honor of Breast Cancer Month, or whenever Breast Cancer Month is. It's a Linda Fuentes, the daughter's deal.
Okay.
And I said, how much for that box? And the guy goes, it was a box of 20, and I think the guy goes, $380, $360. So like $18 a piece, $19 a piece. I'm like, okay, you're gonna sell me the box? He's like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, okay. So I bought the box, and you know, everybody wanted one of those cigars, so I sold them for like $25 a piece. And there's got to be some law against it. I'm sure the Homeland Security is going to come, you know, knock on my door and say, "Are you reselling these cigars, pal?" But they will sell opuses by the box with no qualms at retail price, which is a great deal. So how did you go from stereo, car, home entertainment salesman to coffee mogul? How did that, I mean, from a poor old army guy, how did that elite transition to a financial genius occur?
Sheer stupidity. I have no idea what I'm getting into. So how can you fear what you don't know what you're getting into? Like somebody asked me if I ever thought about getting back into stereo work, and I don't think I would, because I know what I'm getting into. When I did
Makes
it before, I tried to get a job at other places, and I couldn't get
other stereo places or other.
Yeah, and I couldn't get, nobody would hire me. So I said, all right. So I went and had my own cards printed up, and I was doing it out of an apartment here in Burlington. I had a little jigsaw. I would go to Lowe's and get the particle board to build boxes. This is back in the 80s, you know. And I would be in my bedroom in the apartment. We're on the second floor, and I had the board laid over my bed, and I'm cutting it out and everything, and gluing and screwing the box together. And I had a pretty good clientele, and that enabled me to, once I saved up enough, I found a spot and just went from there. It took off. I had like a little one-bay shop, and then a month later I had done enough to where I could graduate to 2 bays. And then after about 6 months of that, I relocated to where the big thing started in on north end of town. I came home one Christmas, and as soon as I get off the airplane, my mom is like, I want you to meet Carrie. I want you to meet Carrie. And we didn't even go home. She takes me over. At that time, my mom ran a Bojangles here in Burlington. And we immediately go to Bojangles. And she introduces me to Carrie. Carrie worked there. And I'm jet lagged. You know, it's like a
You look like
14-hour
shit.
flight. You know, I'm just like, yeah, hey, how you doing? All this, you know, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go home. So I was the jerk. But then, you know, the next day I go up there.
But you were handsome when you were young,
She had a
weren't you?
nice booty. I think I was fairly good looking. I didn't want for the woman. Had a pretty
Female
good game.
companionship it was plentiful.
I had a pretty good game. But you know, I finally came up there the following day after I'd gotten some sleep, and I came up and there was just something about her that clicked, man. It might have been her booty, and it might have been her boobs, but I was like, I gotta think of an excuse. So my excuse was, will you go out with me to help me find my mom a Christmas gift? So I got her that way, and then we went to the movie.
And the movie was
Raw. Eddie Murphy Raw. I swear that's what it was.
And the name of your coffee company is Salvation Coffee, right? So there you were, outside of the theater, and deciding you're going to go see Raw. What helped you make that choice?
I was stupid.
The Lion King was full sold
I
out.
wanted to see Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was funny. I don't think there was anything on then that was worth seeing.
And how did that go over?
Well, we stayed throughout the movie, and I'm married to her, so I did something right. Yeah, she reminds me every once in a while. Do you know what movie we went on our first date? Raw. Eddie Murphy Raw. So
I saw that my favorite cigar company, Gurkha, is making a new cigar. It's they're going to make a 6x66. And a 6x60 and a 5x60 and a 4x60.
the Gurkha.
The Gurkha. I forget the name of it, dadgummit. But 6x66 is my perfect size cigar. I like, a little bit bigger cigar, but not ridiculously big. Like,
Just like this big.
what's your favorite size? Robusto? Churchill?
The Churchill. And only because
It's called the
it's
Churchill?
Churchill. Yeah.
So you're kind of we talked about this last week, Winston Churchill fanboy.
Yeah.
I am too, though. I think he's the greatest, in spite of all his flaws.
This is really good. I really like it.
I'm telling you,
It is a
for cigar smokers, you can't go wrong with Warfighter. No matter what kind of cigar smoker you are. From Connecticut to Escoto Maduro, you cannot go wrong, and they're all amazing. And the crazy thing is, if I went online right now and ordered cigars today, I would probably have them on Tuesday.
Yeah, they've got some pretty cool swag too.
They have some great swag.
That shell ashtray is.
Do you have one here?
I don't have one here. I have one, but not here.
We'll bring it next week. It's a 120 millimeter Abrams tank round end cap. It weighs about 300 pounds. So you can put it on your table out in your backyard and it will not get blown away.
Self-defense ashtray.
I had a really nice Rocky Patel crystal ashtray when I was in Atlanta. And I lived on the 14th floor and I had this nice balcony. And I used to sit out there, and, after I got off filming, 10, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 a.m., I'd be out there with my Captain Morgan spiced rum, and, about 5 o'clock I'd wake up, because I was getting rained on, I fell asleep. And I went out there one night, and there'd been a huge storm, and that crystal ashtray was about this big around, was in about 4 billion razor-sharp pieces.
Damn.
But that's not going to happen with that
Break your heart.
no. Warfighter ashtray.
It will not happen with the Warfighter.
I mean, they have great swag. Their travel humidors or mini Pelican cases, which are awesome. Their lighters, their cutters are all awesome.
I just saw they've got lighters and stuff now.
Yeah.
They just came out with that, didn't they?
It's a new lighter, new cutter, but they've had that forever. They have a little travel humidor. I'll try to bring my stuff in next week because they have the greatest.
You should contact them since you're on a first name basis with them. You should contact them and say, hey, we want to talk about some of your swag. Send us some.
Oh, Warfighter swag.
Yeah.
I'll definitely get some Warfighter. So like you were saying, Warfighter has some of the greatest swag going. And, that ashtray, it's always a conversation piece and a conversation starter. And
What's funny is somebody, when they go and try to pick it up, and they just think they're going to snatch it, and then it snatches them back. It is a stout ashtray. You don't need no stinking GoPro. We got the Sony A6600.
So you never did really tell me, when you are picking out a cigar, we know you like looks, what else makes your decision?
Well, I'll pick it up and smell it, run my fingers around it a little bit. I like a Connecticut binder. I don't know why. I know that they're mellow, they're mild. when I first started smoking, I gravitated towards really dark Nicaraguans. And then for some reason, I started liking the Connecticut shade wrappers. Have you ever had a flying pig? You know, the little short ones?
I have.
They're not bad.
No, that's a Drew Estate.
I think it
What's
is.
it called?
Well, you
The
know, they have,
La Privada, right?
Yeah.
The Flying Pig's a Privada, right?
yeah. There's a
But that's a $15, $16, $18 cigar.
no, I don't think they're that much.
Let me consult.
I got a box of Pappy Van Winkle,
Pappy, but you paid a pretty penny for those.
but it was worth it. Those were some good smokes.
It was worth it, really?
Yeah.
And that had
I don't think
that had bourbon in them, right?
They were I don't think they were like made with bourbon. I
Oh,
think they
okay.
were just
That's
Pappy
just the
Van Winkle.
factory thing, right?
Yeah, they were some kind of special thing. I think Drew Estate did those as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
But that was a good smoke. And sometimes, you know, those little flying pigs, the size of them, like, have you had the nubs?
Yes, I used to smoke the nubs all the
Those
time.
aren't bad. I mean, because it was real quick. You didn't feel bad if you didn't smoke the whole thing because there wasn't much of it there to begin with.
Yeah, Flying Pig was a 4x60. La Privada number 9, Flying Pig by Drew Estate.
How much are they?
I'm looking. You know, the internet in here.
We have no internet here.
Oh, there's not?
Hell no, I ain't got no internet here.
Well, how? There's no freaking way I'm going to get on the internet and tell you how much a box of Flying Pigs is.
You don't have 3G or 5G or whatever it is?
I got 5G and it's not doing G in here.
What's that?
Well, I'm going to set this over here and maybe in an hour it'll come up and I can tell you. But they came in a box of 12.
So what rating would you give this?
I can't rate the cigar.
Why?
Because I'm completely biased.
But wait a
But
minute.
if I was going to rate it,
So I can't be biased.
if I was going to unbiasedly rate this, I would give this a 9. Just because I think you have to, a 10 is something, you know, incredible.
See, my bias comes from
The fact that you like really weak cigars, because
one. I didn't pay for this.
Oh, that's true. You
That's
did
a
not.
plus.
That's a plus.
That's one puff right there. And I still like the company. I think who you're smoking a cigar with.
It's like every Warfighter you
Adds to
smoke, you're smoking with Scott and John.
Yeah. Did they put their blood and sweat
Oh,
in this
yeah.
tobacco?
Yeah, well, they made it through COVID, bro.
You remember when Kiss came out with their comic book and they put their own blood in the ink back in the day, bro?
Is that really true? Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley.
They had their blood. And they,
Who's the other guy? Do you know the other guy?
Peter Chris?
Peter Crisp, the drummer.
I hear you calling.
I won an air guitar contest at a place called the Zeppelin in college. Me and my 3 buddies,
You played Destroyer?
Detroit Rock City.
Oh, yeah, okay.
My buddy Pat Dawson was Gene Simmons because he had a tongue like that long. He put blood in his fake blood in his mouth. I went to the chemistry lab and got some potassium nitrate. I believe you add water to it and it creates smoke.
Yeah.
So we put that in the middle of the dance floor. We lit it up. Started doing Detroit Rock City. My little brother, country ass hillbilly West Texan, was Peter Crisp.
It's Chris, not Chris.
Crisp, whatever the fuck.
Hand me some of those pita crisps.
That's the first rock. Okay, I never listened to rock and roll until I was a junior in college. I was a Motown guy, man. I was all Motown all the time. And we had a photographer from the local newspaper coming to take photos of us. He got there 30 minutes late. There are no photos of that night.
I was the Elvis guy until I was about 9 years old.
Would you
Yeah.
believe if I told you I have an Elvis costume?
I believe.
I mean, the real deal.
I thought I could have worn the Elvis costume when we went to Asheville.
You could
I
have.
would have been Elvish.
Elvish. Jim and I went to Asheville, North Carolina before Christmas. And I dressed up as Santa Claus, and Jim was going to be my elf, but his elf costume arrived too late, and we gave presents and stuff out to the kids from the hurricane disaster down there.
That was one of the best times I've had.
Those kids were awesome, weren't they?
Not one person there felt sorry for themselves.
No.
Those little kids were just loving every second of it.
Yeah. Resilience, man.
Back to music. The first rock music that I heard when I was growing up, eight or nine, I saw Mother's Finest at the Knoxville Fair. They were performing at the fair.
I've never even heard of Mother's Finest.
Baby Love, you never heard the song Baby Love?
By the Supremes?
No.
See? Motown.
I shall play it for you when the episode has ended.
See, this is the problem. Okay, there's one serious drawback about warfighters.
Well, they end. They have to end.
They have to end, and they're so good. You're like burning your lips and fingers by the time you
Yeah.
finish. Any idea what you're going to pick for next week?
I have a Churchill Davidoff.
Late hour?
Huh?
Is it a Churchill late hour? Let's don't blow the surprise. We'll have to make them wait till next week.
Okay. It's whatever the black label is. Black box.
Thanks for joining us and listening to Jim's horrible storytelling.
That's what I live for.
We'll be back next week with more of
The Smoked Debrief.